Hi, I'm Alison from Alison's Astrology, and welcome to the weekly forecast. It's the week the 11th to the 17th of May. So that's 2025. And the week's beginning with a full moon in sensitive Scorpio. So that's on Monday the 12th. And over the weekend, we'll be working our way up to that. We'll be able to feel some of the tension, some of the decisions that are maybe coming together with this full moon, as we've been maybe discussing all kinds of things in different areas of life over the period of the last couple of weeks. And now we're sort of coming to some kind of conclusion, I think, perhaps. And the full moon actually culminates, if you like, at 17:56 on Monday the 12th in the UK. So Scorpio, yeah, a sensitive and emotional sign, but usually contained and focused, maybe not often revealing how it actually feels. It's brilliant at unearthing what other people feel and kind of just divining what's beneath the surface. And instinctively understands what lies beyond that, our veil of material reality. But it doesn't always let you see very much of what it's thinking or feeling, depending on other factors in the chart, of course, if it's a person. So I'm going to share the chart actually. Let me do that now, and we'll get that moon up and just have a quick look at it. Share the screen. Yeah, there we go. Good, and that's cool. There we are. And here is that full moon across 22 degrees of Scorpio. So, of course, as usual, if you do have planets and angles around 22 degrees of the fixed signs, that's that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, then you will be feeling this especially strongly. So Scorpio is good at clearing out, if you like. You know, it's a transformational sign. It represents the 8th house, which is kind of sex and death, if you like, all the kind of major things in life, those major transitions. It's a transitional sign. And Taurus, of course, is across the sky, so that's where the sun is. And Taurus is stable and likes security and likes to kind of be rooted in the physical world. So that's the opposition that we have with this full moon. And both are fixed signs, Taurus and Scorpio. So there's something unyielding and determined about this. You know, it's a real kind of standoff between the balance of physicality and the kind of emotional strength of Scorpio. And it's known as the axis of exchange, if you like. So it's about retention and elimination, with Taurus being that kind of wanting to hold on, and just Scorpio being just like, no, we're going to clear it all out. And what's mine, again, that's Taurus, and what's ours, you know, what do I have to share with you? Where are we interdependent? So the Scorpio moon is offering the potential, if you like, for an emotional clearing out, and maybe a physical one too. You know, depending on how you're feeling, could be a good time for a detox. So it is actually a good time for unpeeling your dependencies. So whether these are on a partner or on physical things like, you know, too much caffeine or drink, too much money, anything that you kind of feel emotionally dependent on, this is a time perhaps to decide that you're going to unpeel that and live differently. And because in fact, these things don't give you what you crave, you know, your partner can't give you everything you crave, that, you know, alcohol, caffeine, all the things that you might be addicted to, even adrenaline doesn't give you what you crave in the end. And what is necessary, and this is what Scorpio really knows deep down, is that it's an internal transformation that's necessary to become more balanced and more able to answer your own needs. So there we go. And when the full moon is at its brightest, we often have a clarity, if you like. So, you know, the moon across the sky reflecting the sun fully, there's a sense of clarity that we need to break away from stuff, break out of a cycle maybe that's been emotionally challenging, and appreciate everyday pleasures, and decide as well what we need to change and what we can let go of. Balancing finances, land, planet, security, with this need to transform. Yeah, so we might come to that decision, reaching a point of full consciousness, and what we lose through the transformation might be security in a sense, or our comfort blanket, you know, whatever it was that we were kind of hanging on to, but we gain a certain amount of liberation. So that's the plus. And every now and again, these clear outs are necessary. Whether they're just clear outs around things that we've been discussing and haven't been able to reach a climax or conclusion, or other stuff, you know, we just have to, every now and again, Scorpio full moon comes every year, just get rid of it. And this time Uranus is in the mix next to the sun. So this can kind of bring surprises, sudden change around this full moon time. Or, as I have mentioned before, Uranus in Taurus has been about the intervention of science or technology on the planet, even on our physical bodies as well. So it's a time for a reboot, physical and emotional regeneration, with some surprises in the mix. Time to let go of the fear. So how it impacts you will depend on the area of life it falls into, of course, where those 22 degrees of Scorpio and Taurus kind of cut across your chart. And if you have any planets or angles around those 22 degrees of those fixed signs, again, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, you will be feeling the power of this moon especially strongly. And in the moon family's kind of theory, it might be connected to something that kicked off around the new moon at 20 degrees of Scorpio on the 13th of November 2023. So that's just something to consider there. And oh, by the way, if you are enjoying the astrology, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. I really appreciate it. So as we go on, the theme of transformation continues actually on that same day, the 12th of May, when Mercury makes its square to Pluto from 3 degrees of Taurus to 3 degrees of Aquarius. So again, we've got these fixed signs involved. And this suggests a kind of revelation perhaps, or uncovering of something, some news, or again, it could be with Mercury, a decision, a mental kind of transformation, if you like. And again, we've got those themes of freedom and security. So pay attention, especially if you've got planets or angles, as ever, around 3 degrees of the fixed signs. And you can also look as well and see where Mercury rules in your chart, if you've got that as astrological knowledge, because that could be impacted too. So the week continues, and we kind of process that emotional or physical evacuation, if you like, of that full moon, and the implications of any decisions that we've made, or any clarity that it may have brought. And this is a time for just, this week is following on from that, is a time for just slowly rebooting our energies, ready for the next phase. So Venus in Aries during this week is approaching her trine to Mars across the fire signs of Aries and Leo. She's at about 10 degrees of Aries at the moment. Let's just have a look at that actually. We'll just move that forward. Let's just move that out of the way. Right, yeah. So we can move that forward. That was a full moon. And as we go through the week, we can see Venus here. Whoops, yeah, we've got to Friday there, approaching this lovely trine to Mars. So if you've got anything, you know, around those 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees of the fire signs, you'll be feeling this, you know, and it's really just a nice joyful aspect, which is about having fun and warming up and about relationships. And it lasts a bit longer than usual because it's Venus and Mars are still moving slowly, coming out of their retrogrades. This is about expressing ourselves in a positive and joyful way. So that's good news, and that's sort of ongoing throughout this week. And then next Saturday, on the 18th of May, the Sun arrives at its annual conjunction with Uranus. So it's been chugging along, and then it's getting to that conjunction now. I'm going to show you that. So, oops, that's gone too far. Sunday, so it actually perfects at around, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning of the Sunday in Europe. So, I will definitely be asleep then. But that is the Sun Uranus conjunction, and you will be feeling this building actually on the 17th of May. So if that's your solar return chart, if you've got your birthday, then you'll have that surprising Sun Uranus conjunction. You can expect a year of change. And actually, if you've got anything, planets or angles around that Sun Uranus conjunction, then you can definitely expect to feel that cycle as it progresses, because these conjunctions are the beginning of new cycles. And we talk a lot about Saturn Neptune conjunction, a really big one that only happens every few years. That's coming up in 2026. But all these conjunction of the annual sun with the planets are the beginnings of new cycles. And if you do have things that are impacted by those 27 by that cycle, if you like, at 27 degrees of Taurus this year, then it could be an interesting year with unexpected changes, so it's worth looking at. And this annual Sun-Uranus conjunction has been falling in Taurus since 2019, when Uranus first went into Taurus, and next year it will move into Gemini. So this is the last Sun-Uranus conjunction in Taurus for over 80 years. So that's something to actually think about, to consider. So that's Sun shining its light on Uranus, if you like, opening up, sort of focusing its solar energy on this planet of change and transformation, unexpected changes, unexpected transformations in finances, in our bodies, on our planet, in land, if you like. That's Taurus too. So this is interesting, and it's worth just paying attention to that and looking to see where that does fall in your chart. And that's about it for this week. Next week, the Sun moves into Gemini, and Saturn, big news, ingresses into Aries on May the 25th. And I have done a full video on that with Terry, but I will be talking about it next week too. And meanwhile, Terry and I are recording All You Need to Know about Jupiter moving into Cancer, where it is in exaltation, and it will be staying for about a year because it's got a long retrograde in that sign too. So traditionally it could be good for stock markets. So we'll see about that. So thanks for joining me, and I will stop the share there and say thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.